The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed like shattered glass under the relentless downpour, and I stood there in the doorway of my apartment, watching Ronan vanish into the night without a backward glance. His parting words sliced deeper than any claw. "You're not enough for me anymore, Elias. Not like this." My hand instinctively flew to my abdomen, where the faint flutter of our twins reminded me that some bonds couldn't be severed so easily, even by the alpha I'd sworn my life to. In that moment, as thunder cracked overhead like the universe's cruel laughter, I realized the life we'd built in this foggy Pacific Northwest haven was crumbling, and all I had left was the fierce, unyielding pulse of survival thrumming through my veins. I had always known loving an alpha like Ronan Whitaker would come at a cost. From the day we met in the dim, haze-filled backroom of a werewolf pack gathering in the Cascade Mountains, his presence had been a storm, raw power wrapped in that disarming grin, his broad shoulders cutting through the crowd like he owned the very air. I was 22 then, fresh out of a nowhere town in eastern Washington called Willow Bend, where Omegas like me learned early to keep our heads down and our sense muted. Ronan, with his piercing green eyes and that perpetual 5 o'clock shadow framing a jaw that could shatter stone, spotted me across the room. "You smell like home," he'd growled low, his voice a rumble that sent heat coiling through my core before I even knew his name. We moved fast after that. Too fast, maybe. He was the rising star of the Evergreen Pack, heir to the alpha line that traced back to the old timber barons who'd clawed their way through the forests a century ago. I was just Elias Hale, a barista with dreams of something more than slinging lattes in a city that never slept. But Ronan saw potential in me, or so he said. Our mating ceremony was a quiet affair on the shores of Lake Washington, under a canopy of evergreens that whispered promises of forever. The pack elders bound us with ancient rites, their chants mingling with the lap of water against the pebbled beach. I remember the way his teeth grazed my marking spot, the flood of endorphins that made my knees buckle, and the vow we exchanged. Through storm and shadow, I claim you as mine. Life in Seattle blurred into a rhythm of pack duties and stolen moments. Ronan climbed the ranks, his construction firm, Whitaker Builds, transforming derelict warehouses into sleek lofts along the waterfront. I supported him, always the steady Omega at his side, hosting pack barbecues in our queen and row house with its creaky wooden floors and views of the Space Needle piercing the mist. We talked about pups someday, in those lazy Sunday mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of pine and salt. "Twins," he'd murmur against my neck, his hands splaying possessively over my flat stomach. "A boy and a girl, strong like their dad, fierce like their Omega." But cracks formed early, subtle as the first frost on Puget Sound. Ronan's late nights at the office stretched into dawns, his explanations laced with that alpha edge. Too sharp, too defensive. I'd catch whiffs of unfamiliar scents on his collar. Sharp citrus, undercut with something feral. Omega, my instinct screamed, but I shoved it down. Alpha strayed. It was pack lore, a test of loyalty. I trusted him, or I tried to. The night it shattered, the twins were already a secret blooming inside me. We'd been trying for months, the heat cycles sinking in that rare, perfect alignment Omegas chased like a prayer. Positive test in hand, I'd planned the reveal. A candlelit dinner on our rooftop deck, overlooking the glittering lights of the city. Instead, I came home early from my shift at the indie bookstore in Capitol Hill, the kind with mismatched armchairs and walls lined with dog-eared queer lit. The door to our bedroom was ajar, and there they were, Ronan, bare-chested and glistening, tangled with Jax Harlan, the sleek Omega from the rival Cascade Pack. Jax, with his bleached blonde hair and tattoos snaking up his arms like accusations, arched under Ronan's touch, their scents mingling in a symphony of betrayal that hit me like a gut punch. I froze in the threshold, the pregnancy test slipping from my fingers to clatter on the hardwood. Ronan's head snapped up, his eyes widening not in shame, but irritation. "Elias?" he snarled, disentangling himself with a grace that mocked my unraveling world. Jax smirked, unashamed, propping himself on an elbow. "This isn't what it looks like." But it was exactly that. The air thickened with my rising distress pheromones, sharp and acrid, making even Ronan flinch. He pulled on his jeans, zipping them with deliberate slowness, as if buying time to craft his exit. "We've been drifting, Eli. You know that, Jax." He gets it. The pressure, the pack politics. "You're too soft for this life now. Too soft." The words lodged in my throat like thorns. I wanted to rage, to rake claws across his chest, but the twins, our twins, stilled my hand. "I'm pregnant," I whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. His gaze dropped to the test on the floor, and for a split second, something raw flickered in those green depths. Regret? Longing? It vanished as quickly as it came. "You're what?" He stepped closer, but not to comfort. His nostrils flared, scenting the truth of it. Then, colder than the November rain outside, "I can't do this. Not with pups tying me down. Not when I finally feel free. Free. The alpha's eternal curse," they said. But I'd believed we were different. He packed a bag that night, swift and methodical, while I curled on the couch, sobs racking my body until bile rose in my throat. By morning, he was gone, leaving only a note on the kitchen counter. "Take care of yourself. The pack will provide." No apology. No goodbye kiss. Just the echo of his truck roaring to life in the driveway, fading into the gray dawn. The days that followed were a haze of nausea and numb survival. Seattle's relentless drizzle mirrored my mood, turning every walk to the clinic into a sodden pilgrimage. Dr. Lena Voss, the Pax Omega specialist with her no-nonsense bob and kind eyes, confirmed the pregnancy. "Twins? Healthy? Due in 6 months. You're strong, Elias," she said, her hand on mine during the ultrasound, the whoosh-whoosh of their heartbeats filling the room like a defiant symphony. "Stronger than you know." But strength felt like a lie when I stared at the empty side of the bed, Ronan's pillow still faintly scented with him. The pack rallied in waves. Baskets of ginger tea from Aunt Mira, offers to hunt from cousins who'd always eyed me sideways. Yet whispers slithered through. Alpha's folly. Omega scorned. I quit the bookstore, the sense of old paper turning my stomach. Instead, I holed up in the row house, painting the nursery in soft blues and greens, each brushstroke a rebellion against the void. One evening, as twilight bled purple across the sound, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Heart slamming, I answered. "Elias? It's me." Ronan's voice, gravelly and edged with something I couldn't place. "Whiskey, maybe, or weariness." "Heard about the pups. Congratulations." Rage ignited, hot and unbidden. "You don't get to call and play nice, Ronan. You left." Pause heavy as fog. "I was wrong, Jax. It was a mistake. Pack me up, Eli. Let me come home." The line went dead before I could respond, but his words lingered, a hook in my chest. Home, as if he'd ever truly known what that meant. Sleep evaded me that night, the twins tumbling like acrobats in my belly, as if sensing the storm brewing. Ronan's call replayed in loops, his voice a ghost haunting the quiet corners of the row house. By dawn, I'd made my choice. No, not yet. Not without clawing back some piece of the dignity he'd stripped away. I texted him a single word, "No," and blocked the number, my thumb trembling on the screen. It felt like severing a limb, but the ache was familiar now, woven into the fabric of my days. Seattle unfolded around me in shades of emerald and steel, the city's pulse a distraction from my own faltering rhythm. I started small, reclaiming the life he'd overshadowed. Mornings at Pike Place Market, weaving through the crush of tourists to snag fresh salmon from old Mr. Kowalski, whose Polish accent thickened when he teased about that glow, boy, pups'll be beauties. Afternoons in the Arboretum, paths lined with rhododendrons that bloomed defiant against the chill, my hand tracing their petals as I journaled the twins' kicks, naming them in whispers. Luca and Mira, after the Italian poet and the aunt who'd taught me resilience. The pack noticed the shift. At the full moon gathering in Discovery Park, under a sky pricked with stars like scattered diamonds, Elders circled the bonfire, their howls a tapestry of ancient grief and joy. I arrived alone, chin lifted, my scent no longer muted but bold, jasmine laced with iron resolve. Cousin Theo clapped my shoulder, his beta steadiness a balm. You're shining, Eli, like you were always meant to. Ronan was there, of course. Word traveled fast in the evergreen pack. He stood at the edge of the flames, broader than I remembered, his flannel shirt straining against muscles honed by weeks of what, running? Fighting shadows? His eyes locked on me across the fire, green embers flaring with hunger. Jax hovered nearby, all sharp angles and forced nonchalance, but Ronan ignored him, striding through the pack like a man possessed. Elias, my name on his lips, a plea wrapped in command. The circle parted, murmurs rippling like wind through ferns. He stopped inches away, close enough for his alpha scent to wrap around me. Cedar and storm intoxicating even now. We need to talk. My pulse thundered, the twins fluttering in protest. There's nothing left to say. His hand reached for mine, calloused fingers brushing my wrist, sending sparks up my arm. I was lost. The pressure, Dad's legacy, the merger with Cascade. Jax was easy, but you. That's home. The pack watched, breaths held. Aunt Myra's gaze burned from the shadows, her omega wisdom a silent warning. I pulled away, the rejection tasting like ash. Home doesn't cheat. Home doesn't leave when things get real. He flinched, the alpha mask cracking. The pups are pups. Let me be there. A sob clawed up my throat, but I swallowed it. You had your chance. Now go. He didn't. Not that night. As the moon climbed, he lingered, his presence a gravitational pull that tugged at my edges. I slipped away early, driving the winding roads to my old Willow Bend roots, the small town nestled in the Yakima Valley where apple orchards stretched like golden promises. My childhood home, a weathered craftsman with sagging porches, welcomed me with the scent of my mother's lavender sachets. She was gone now, taken by a rogue fever years back, but her spirit lingered in the quilt on my bed, stitched with stories of omegas who'd bent but never broken. There, in the quiet, I let the tears come, not for Ronan, but for the boy I'd been, the one who dreamed of a love unmarred by pack hierarchies. The twins settled as I rocked on the glider, humming an old lullaby about rivers that carved canyons over time. Freedom, it whispered, not chains. Weeks blurred into a fragile routine. I dove into freelance graphic design, my laptop screen alive with logos for local queer-owned businesses, rainbow-infused fonts for a Capitol Hill bakery, sleek vectors for a trans-led advocacy group. Income trickled in, enough to hire a beta nanny from the pack, sweet-natured Riley with her freckles and endless patience. She moved into the row house's guest room, her laughter a counterpoint to my silences. Ronan's attempts escalated. Flowers arrived, wild roses from the Olympics, their thorns pricking my fingers as I tossed them. Letters slipped under the door, scrawled in his bold hand. I dream of your scent every night. Forgive me. I burned them in the sink, watching flames dance like accusations. Then came the night of the equinox storm, winds howling off the sound like banshees. Power flickered, plunging the city into primal dark. I paced the nursery, contractions teasing my edges. Not true labor, Dr. Voss assured later, but Braxton Hicks amplified by stress. A knock rattled the door, insistent. Riley was out. It was just me. Ronan stood there, drenched, lightning etching his silhouette in silver. Let me in, Eli, please. Against every instinct, I did. He stepped inside, water pooling at his feet, eyes wild. I can't stop thinking about you, about us. His arms enveloped me, and God's help me, I melted, just for a moment. His lips found my marking spot, nipping gently, and heat pooled low, my body betraying the war in my mind. Ronan, I gasped, hands fisting his shirt. He lifted me effortlessly, carrying me to the couch, his touch reverent now, fingers tracing the swell of my belly, lips murmuring apologies against my skin. We didn't mate, not fully. The twins demanded caution. But in the candlelight, we connected, slow and aching, his alpha knot swelling just enough to anchor us in shared breath. Morning brought regret's sharp edge. He woke with tousled hair and a sleepy smile, brewing coffee like old times. But as I watched him, Jax's scent ghosted my memory. Faint on his sleeve, a betrayal renewed. "You saw him again," I said flatly, heart fracturing anew. His denial crumbled under my stare. "It was nothing. A drink. Pack alliance. Get out." The words were steel. He left without protest this time, the door clicking shut like a finality. But the damage lingered, a seed of doubt sprouting thorns. Was I building walls or a cage? The twins kicked harder now, as if urging me forward. I enrolled in Omega support groups at the community center in Fremont, circles of faces like mine, scars hidden under brave smiles. There, I met Kai, a soft-spoken beta artist with ink-stained fingers and eyes like smoked quartz. No alpha fire, just quiet understanding. We shared sketches over herbal tea, his presence a gentle tide washing away the salt of old wounds. Yet Ronan's shadow loomed. Pack rumors swirled. He challenged the Cascade Alpha, bloodied knuckles for a shot at redemption. And in the quiet hours, when Seattle's lights twinkled like distant hopes, I wondered if forgiveness was a bridge or a trap. Autumn deepened, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in crimson and gold, mirroring the slow burn of resolve in my chest. The twins grew insistent, their movements a Morse code of impatience, and with each ultrasound, Dr. Voss's smile widened. Robust, just like their carrier. Carrier. The word grounded me, a reminder that biology didn't define worth. I was Elias Hale, not just Ronan's Omega, and this city, this sprawling, fog-kissed beast, held space for reinvention. I threw myself into the Pack's periphery, volunteering at the annual Harvest Festival in Green Lake Park. Booths overflowed with cider presses and pumpkin carvings, the air thick with cinnamon and laughter. Children, pups mostly, darted between legs, their howls playful echoes of what mine would soon be. I manned the storytelling tent, weaving tales of ancient Omegas who'd tamed alphas with wit over Fong. Aunt Mira joined me, her silver-streaked braids swinging as she added flourishes, her voice a gravelly melody. "See, Eli? Stories outlive scars." Ronan appeared at dusk, uninvited, his frame cutting through the crowd like a blade. He'd shed the wildness, dressed in a crisp button-down that hugged his chest, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms corded with fresh scars. Dueling marks, I guessed, from his bid for power. "I brought something," he said, holding out a carved wooden cradle, smooth oak inlaid with wolf motifs. His hands, usually so sure, trembled faintly. The gesture pierced me, an arrow to the heart. "You think this fixes it?" My voice wavered, but I held his gaze, the twins stilling as if listening. "No, but it's a start." He knelt then, ear to my belly, and hummed a low alpha rumble, the bonding frequency that once lulled me to sleep. The vibration soothed, unbidden tears pricking my eyes. Around us, the festival hummed on, oblivious, but Aunt Myra's stare from afar was a sentinel's warning. We walked the lake's edge after, the water lapping like whispered secrets. He spoke of his regrets, not in poetry, but raw chunks. The merger's stress, Jax's manipulations, the fear of fatherhood eclipsing his legacy. I thought leaving would free us both. Stupid alpha pride. I wanted to believe him. Gods, how I ached for it. His hand brushed mine, tentative, and I didn't pull away. Not immediately, but as stars pricked the velvet sky, doubt resurfaced. "Freedom isn't running, Ronan. It's choosing to stay." He nodded, shadows playing across his face. "Teach me." That night he stayed on the couch, respecting boundaries. We talked until dawn, voices hoarse, peeling back layers like onion skins. Laughter slipped in, rare and precious, over memories of our first pack run. racing through moonlit trails until we collapsed in a heap of limbs and gasps. For the first time in months, hope flickered, fragile as a candle flame. But betrayal's echo was a persistent drum. Days later, at a routine checkup, Dr. Voss pulled me aside, her expression grave. "Elias, there's stress markers in your blood work. Elevated cortisol. The pups are fine, but you need calm." Calm. In a world where Ronan's return stirred tempests, I confided in Kai over coffee at his studio in Ballard, a loft cluttered with canvases of abstract wolves in urban jungles. He listened without judgment, his beta calm a soothing blank slate. "You're allowed joy without him," he said softly, sketching a quick portrait of me. Fierce lines, eyes alight. It hung on my fridge, a talisman. Ronan courted me then, with the earnestness of a man atoning. Dinners at Hidden Gems, dim sum in the International District, where steam rose like ghosts from bamboo baskets. Sunset hikes in the Issaquah Alps, his arms steadying me on rocky paths. He attended prenatal classes, awkward in the circle of beaming couples, his large hand dwarfing the birthing ball as he practiced breathing techniques. Laughter bubbled up when he toppled, green eyes sparkling with self-deprecation. "See? Even alphas need practice." Intimacy crept back, slow as tide pools filling. One evening, rain pattering against the windows, he massaged my swollen feet, thumbs circling with alpha precision. His touch ignited embers long banked, and when I leaned in, our kiss was a reclamation. Deep, unhurried, tasting of salt and second chances. We made love on the living room rug, bodies aligning with the reverence of rediscovery, his not locking us in waves of shared release. Afterward, curled against his chest, his heartbeat a steady thunder, I whispered, "Don't break us again." "I won't," he vowed, fingers tracing my stretch marks like sacred runes. The pack sensed the thaw. Invitations flowed. Joint hunts in the Olympics, where we'd flank deer through fern-choked undergrowth, our scents intertwining like vines. Theo pulled me aside one evening, brow furrowed. "He's changed, Eli, but alphas, they revert. Watch your heart." His words festered, a splinter under skin. And then the fracture. A Cascade pack envoy arrived unannounced, Jax at the forefront, his smirk a venomous curl. "Alpha Whitaker," he purred at our door, eyes sliding over me like oil. "The merger demands your presence. Tonight." Ronan stiffened beside me, his hand tightening on mine. "Not now, Harlan." Jax's gaze lingered on my belly, calculating. Pups change everything, don't they? But alliances wait for no one. The implication hung, choose power or family. Ronan dismissed him, but the seed of discord sprouted. That night he paced, phone buzzing with urgent texts. "It's nothing," he insisted, but his sense soured stress, laced with that damned citrus tang. I confronted him at midnight, voice steady despite the quake inside. "If you go back to that world, you leave us for good." His eyes, tormented, met mine. "I have to end it clean. For us." He left before dawn, promising return by eve. Hours stretched into agony, my body heavy with the twins' weight and worry's burden. Kai called, inviting me to his exhibit opening, a queer art showcase in Pioneer Square, walls alive with stories of identity reclaimed. I went, needing the noise, the validation, amid sculptures of intertwined forms. Alphas yielding to omegas, Kai found me, his hand light on my arm. "You look radiant," he said, and in that moment uncomplicated kindness bloomed. Ronan returned late, reeking of smoke and sweat, a fresh bruise blooming on his cheek. "It's done," he growled, pulling me close. "Jax is out. Merger's off." Relief flooded, but so did suspicion. What did it cost? Everything worth losing. His kiss was fierce, sealing the pact. But as we lay entwined, a text lit his phone. "Jax. Missed you tonight, big guy. Round 2. The screen glowed like accusation. Heart in throat, I slipped away, locking myself in the nursery. Betrayal round 2 sharper because I dared hope. Morning brought confrontation, tears streaming as I shoved the phone at him. Lies, Ronan. Again. He swore it was manipulation, a ploy to fracture us. But the damage spiderwebbed. Trust, once rebuilt, crumbled to dust. I packed a bag, fleeing to Willow Bend, the orchard's a sanctuary of quiet judgment. There, under apple boughs heavy with fruit, I wept for the family I'd almost salvaged. The twins' kicks a reminder. Survival first. Ronan's calls bombarded, voicemails cracking with desperation. Come home, Eli. Please. But home felt like a mirage now, shimmering just out of reach. Willow Bend enveloped me like a worn blanket, its rhythm slow and unyielding. The creak of porch swings at dusk, the distant low of cattle from neighboring farms, the way sunlight slanted through leaves to paint the valley gold. My mother's old house, with its peeling blue paint and herb garden gone wild, became a cocoon. Riley followed, her beta practicality a godsend as she organized the nursery I'd half-assembled in Seattle. Twins need space, she said, stacking diapers with military precision, her freckled nose wrinkling at my swollen ankles. And you need rest, boss. Rest was a luxury, elusive as fireflies in daylight. Nightmares plagued me. Ronan's green eyes darkening to betrayal's black, Jax's laughter echoing like hyenas. I'd wake gasping, hand on belly, the twins reassuring somersaults pulling me back. Dr. Voss arranged telehealth visits, her voice crackling over the line. Focus on you, Elias. The pups thrive on your peace. Peace came in fragments. Mornings baking apple pies from the orchard's bounty, crusts flaky and spiced, shared with neighbors. Mrs. Delgado, the widowed beta with stories of 60s pack upheavals. Young Finn, a teenage Omega apprenticed at the local garage, his eyes wide with unspoken questions about my glow. Through them, I glimpsed a life untethered. Community without hierarchy. Bonds forged in pie crust and porch talks rather than mating bites. Kai visited once, driving up in his battered Subaru, canvases strapped to the roof like promises. We hiked the valley trails, my pace waddling but determined, his arm a steady anchor. He spoke little of art, more of dreams, his own of a gallery in Seattle showcasing Omega voices. You're inspiring that, you know, he said, pausing to sketch a quick vista, charcoal smudging his fingers. In his company, flirtation flickered, light as pollen on breeze. His gaze lingering on my lips, a brush of knuckles that sent warmth unfurling. No alpha dominance, just equality's quiet thrill. Back in the house, letters from Ronan piled on the mantel, each envelope heavier than the last. I read them in secret, curled in the attic amid dust motes and forgotten trunks. His words poured out. Remorse etched in ink, visions of fatherhood he'd sketched. Pups tumbling in meadows, my hand in his. I ended it with Jax for good, he wrote. Challenged him to the circle. Won, but lost more. The pack's fracturing, Eli. I need you to hold it together. Fracturing. The evergreen pack, once a monolith, splintered under his ambitions' fallout. Whispers reached even Willow Bend. Elders calling for a new alpha, loyalties shifting like sand. Guilt gnawed at me. Had my leaving hastened the chaos? But anger countered, his mess, his mend. The decision crystallized on a crisp November morning, frost rhyming the windows like lace. The twins were viable now, their forms distinct on the latest scan. Luca with a button nose like mine, Mira with Ronan's stubborn chin. I couldn't deny them their sire, not entirely. Packing the car with Riley's help, we returned to Seattle under skies heavy with portent. The row house stood sentinel, its windows dark eyes watching our arrival. Ronan was waiting, gaunt-cheeked, his usual swagger eroded to hollows. He rushed forward, halting at my glare. Eli, not yet. I brushed past, Riley trailing with bags. Her beta sent a neutral buffer. Inside, the air stale with abandonment, but he'd tried. Nursery completed, mobiles of wooden wolves swaying gently. We coexisted in uneasy truce. He cooked, Burnt roasts redeemed with apologies. Attended every appointment. His presence a shield against prying pack eyes. Intimacy was tentative. Shared baths where his hands soaped my back with reverence. Kisses that deepened but stopped short of claiming. The heat built, a simmer threatening boil, but I held the reins, doling affection like rations. The pack convened at the winter solstice, a grand affair in an old mill on the Duwamish, strung with evergreens and fairy lights. Tensions crackled like the massive hearth fire, factions eyeing Ronan warily. Jax lurked in shadows, his Omega allure weaponized, subtle scents wafting, drawing betas like moths. When he approached me, flute of mulled wine in hand, his smile was serpent sweet. Elias, radiant as ever, twins treating you well. Stay away, I hissed, hand protective over my bump. He leaned in, breath hot. He'll always crave this. A graze of fingers down my arm, electric with intent. Ronan materialized, alpha growl vibrating the air. Touch him again, and you're done. The challenge ignited, packs converging as they circled in the mill's cleared floor, moonbeams slanting through cracked windows. Claws extended, they lunged, fury incarnate, bodies twisting in primal ballet. Ronan dominated, pinning Jax with a snarl that echoed off beams, but not before a slash opened his side, blood welling dark. I rushed to him as the crowd dispersed, medical betas swarming. Fool, I murmured, pressing cloth to the wound, tears blurring his face. Worth it, he rasped, hand cupping my cheek. For you. Healing bridged us closer. In the aftermath, snow blanketing the city in hush, we mated fully. Not deep, sense merging in euphoric haze. His mark renewed on my neck, a brand of possession and promise. Mine, he breathed, and for once it felt like mutual claim. Spring teased with cherry blossoms along the waterfront, the twins' due date looming like a beacon. We nested, painting visions of future. Pack rebuilt under joint rule, me as Omega consort with voice in council. Ronan deferred, listening when I spoke of equity. Omegas in leadership sense no longer hierarchies. But shadows lengthened. Anonymous notes arrived. He's lying. Jax has proof. Paranoia crept, sleep fractured by doubts. One night, rifling his jacket for keys, I found it. A hotel keycard, crisp and damning, scented faintly of citrus. Confrontation erupted at dawn, key thrust under his nose. Explain. His face ashen. Jax's trap. He planted it after the fight. Lies. The word shattered me. I fled to Kai's studio, collapsing amid canvases, sobs racking. He held me, no questions, his embrace a harbor without storms. Ronan tracked me there, bursting in with alpha fury. Elias! The standoff crackled, his dominance clashing with Kai's quiet defiance. Leave him be, Kai said, stepping forward. Ronan's eyes narrowed, scent spiking possessive. He's my mate. Yours to hurt, Kai shot back. The punch landed, Kai crumpling with a gasp. Horror dawned on Ronan's face. Gods, no. I knelt by Kai, fury blazing. Out. Now. He left. Broken. Days blurred in Kai's loft, his bruises fading as my trust in Ronan calcified to stone. The twins, sensing turmoil, grew restless, contractions teasing a warning. Dr. Voss ordered bed rest, her voice stern. Stress endangers them all. Confined to the row house, I stewed. Ronan's visits tense negotiations. He brought groveling bouquets, tales of confronting Jax. Exile demanded, proof fabricated confessed. Believe me, he pleaded. I wanted to. The pull was visceral, alpha-omega tether humming. But betrayal's scar tissue pulled tight. Labor crept in subtly, a backache sharpening to vice. Midnight found me timing contractions, Riley dialing the pack clinic. Ronan arrived wild-eyed, driving through rain-lashed streets. In the delivery room, Amid beeps and antiseptic tang, he held my hand, whispering encouragements as I pushed. Luca emerged first, wailing fury, dark hair matted. Then Mira, quieter, her cry a tentative song. Ronan wept, openly, cutting cords with trembling hands. "They're perfect," he breathed, placing them on my chest, our scents enveloping them in family weave. In that glow, forgiveness tempted, a siren's call. But as nurses bustled, a text buzzed his phone, ignored, but the sender's name, Jax. The illusion cracked. The neonatal ward hummed with fragile miracles, incubators glowing like lanterns in the dim. Luca and Mira, tiny fists clenched in defiance, slept swaddled in soft flannel, their scents a delicate blend. My jasmine warmth laced with Ronan's cedar storm. I watched them through the glass, exhaustion a heavy cloak, but wonder sharper still. Fatherhood, unbidden, reshaped me. Edges softened, resolve hardened. Ronan hovered, a sentinel in scrubs too tight on his frame, green eyes shadowed by nights of vigil. He'd barely left since the birth, fetching ice chips and pacing during my recovery haze. Pack support flooded baskets of organic linens from Aunt Mira, beta sitters on rotation. Yet undercurrents swirled. The elders' murmurs of succession, Jax's exile a powder keg with fuse lit. Discharge brought us home. The row house transformed into a nest of burp cloths and bassinets. Sleepless nights blurred into days, the twins' cries a symphony demanding duet. Ronan adapted with surprising grace, diaper changes executed with alpha precision, midnight feedings where he'd hum that bonding rumble, lulling them to quiet. In stolen moments, he'd pull me close, lips brushing my temple. "We're a family now, Eli. Real." The words wrapped like vines, but thorns pricked. That text lingered, a specter. One afternoon, twins napping in tandem rarity, I cornered him in the kitchen, coffee steaming between us. "Show me your phone." His jaw tightened, but he handed it over, unlocked. Scrolling revealed the message. "Congrats on the litter, but you know where to find real heat. Jax, ever the viper." Ronan snatched it back, deleting with a swipe. "Ignore him. He's nothing. Nothing doesn't haunt." My voice cracked, the wound raw. "Promise me no more secrets." "I swear on the pack." His hand over mine, alpha oath binding. We rebuilt in fits. Walks along the Burke-Gilman Trail, stroller wheels crunching gravel as cherry petals rained confetti. Ronan stepped back from Whitaker Builds, delegating to Theo, focusing on us. Reading Omega parenting forums on his tablet, his brow furrowed in concentration. Laughter returned, tentative. Myra's first gummy smile mirroring his, Luca's grip vice-like on his finger. Intimacy reignited in embers. Postpartum haze lifted, my body reclaiming curves, and one evening, stars winking over the sound, we tumbled to bed. His touch was worship, fingers mapping scars like constellations, not swelling in rhythm to my gasps. "Love you," he murmured, Mark pulsing with renewed claim. Kai faded to friend-zone periphery, his visits platonic, art supplies for the nursery, sketches of the twins that captured their essence in swift lines. "You're glowing," he'd say, eyes warm but distant, respecting boundaries. Gratitude swelled. His steadiness had anchored me when Ronan couldn't. Yet the pack's fracture widened. At a council meeting in the old pack hall, a cedar-beamed lodge in West Seattle, tensions boiled. Elders, grizzled with silver fur, demanded Ronan's abdication. "Your indiscretions weaken us," Elder Harlan, Jax's uncle, spat, eyes like flint. Ronan rose, voice thunder. "I've atoned, with actions, not words." Murmurs rippled. My presence at his side, twins and carriers at our feet, swayed some Omega strength, a subtle power. But Harlan's gaze slithered to me. "And the consort? Can he trust an alpha's vow?" The barb landed. Ronan's hand clenched mine under the table, but I spoke, voice steady. Trust is earned daily. We're learning. The vote teetered, adjourning in stalemate. Driving home, rain sluicing windshields, Ronan gripped the wheel white-knuckled. I won't lose this. You won't, I assured, but doubt whispered. Climax brewed in midsummer heat, Seattle's rare sun baking streets to shimmer. The twins, 3 months strong, babbled in duet, rolling chubby limbs on play mats. Ronan planned a renewal ceremony, private, on our anniversary, at the Lake Washington shore where we'd mated. A fresh start, he said, eyes alight. I agreed, heart fluttering. Preparations wove magic. Wildflowers from the market, a quilt from Aunt Mira embroidered with our names. The day dawned crystalline, water lapping like applause. But betrayal's jaws snapped shut at noon. A courier arrived, envelope sealed with cascade wax. Inside, photos grainy but damning. Ronan and Jax, entwined in a Rainier Beach motel, timestamps post-birth. A note in Jax's script. He never stopped. Run while you can. World tilted. I confronted him in the garage, photos scattering like confetti of lies. When? His face drained to ash. It was once, after the challenge. He ambushed, pheromones, tricks. I stopped it. Lies. Sobs tore free. Twins' cries from the monitor, a Greek chorus. You swore. Eli, please. He reached, but I recoiled, claws extending instinctively. Out. The command, Omega fierce, brooked no argument. He left, truck fading into haze. Grief's tidal wave crashed. I rocked the twins through the night, their warmth the only anchor. Kai arrived at dawn, summoned by Riley's call, his arms a safe harbor. No words, just presence, brewing tea and folding tiny socks. Days compressed. Pack elders intervened, offering mediation. I refused, channeling rage into independence, resuming design work, pitching a queer parenting blog to local mags. Features ran, Omega Solo, rebuilding after betrayal, my words raw therapy. Ronan vanished initially, then resurfaced broken, texts pleading, voicemails cracking. I exiled myself from the pack. Jax is gone, for good, banished to the wilds. Let me prove it. Proof came in actions. Anonymous funds to my account for the twins, shadows watching protectively from afar. But trust's bridge burned. Autumn waned, leaves to mulch, when crisis struck. Luca spiked a fever, tiny body scorching. Our dash in pouring rain, Ronan's truck pulling up unbidden. He'd scented distress from miles away. In the sterile hall, he paced as doctors swarmed, his alpha presence calming the chaos. He's stable, the pediatrician announced, fever broken with meds. Ronan sagged against wall, then knelt by Luca's crib, tears tracing jaw. My boy! In that vulnerability, walls cracked. I joined him, Mira in arms, our sense mingling tentative. Why fight for us now? Because losing you is death. Honesty stripped bare. Forgiveness isn't absolution. It's choice. We talked endless, excavating ruins. Therapy sessions with a pack counselor, neutral ground where alphas learned vulnerability. Ronan dove in, unpacking legacy's chains, Jax's hold as escape from fear. Seasons turned, twins toddling on unsteady legs, Seattle's winter's mild sentinels. We co-parented, boundaries blurring to coexistence. Renewal ceremony? Postponed, but on anniversary eve, under same shore moon, he proposed a new, not claim, but partnership. Equals, he said, ring simple platinum. I accepted, cautious bloom. Winter yielded to spring's insistent green, Seattle awakening in bursts of tulips along the arboretum paths, where the twins chased petals with glee squeals, their laughter a balm on old wounds. Ronan and I navigated the fragile new normal with the caution of dancers on thin ice. Shared custody in the row house, now partitioned with beta-neutral zones, nights alternating so neither felt ownership. He'd taken a consulting gig, scouting sites for sustainable builds up the coast, his absences purposeful breaths for healing. I thrived in the space. Blog blossomed to podcast, unmarked paths, episodes weaving Omega tales of autonomy, guests from Portland healers to New Orleans mystics. Listeners flooded in, their messages lifelines. Your voice gave me courage to leave. The pack, under Theo's interim alpha stead, stabilized, council reforms echoing my pushes. Omegas seated equally, sense democratized. Ronan attended peripherally, his influence subtle, earning wary respect. Jax's shadow? Banished echo. Rumors placing him in the wilds of the Olympics. A lone wolf's howl lost to winds. Intimacy evolved. No longer alpha-omega frenzy, but deliberate intimacy. Evenings on the deck, twins bathed and bedded, we'd share wine. Non-alcoholic for me still nursing, and stories. His of boyhood hunts gone awry. Mine of Willow Bend stargazing with ghosts of parents. Touches lingered. His thumb tracing my palm, my head on his shoulder. Building to nights where bodies conversed in whispers, not a gentle anchor rather than conquer. I see you, he'd murmur post-climax. Eyes holding mine, no dominance, just witness. Kai remained friend, his gallery opening a triumph, walls alive with our shared history. A corner piece dedicated to Elias, architect of self. At the after-party in a loft overlooking Elliott Bay, champagne fizzing, he pulled me aside. Happy for you, he said. Hug brief but true. But if he falters, he won't. Conviction, hard won. Crisis tested that vow in high summer, heat wave baking the city to torpor. The twins, rambunctious at 9 months, escaped their playpen during Ronan's solo watch, bolt out the back door, into the Queen and streets teeming with joggers. Panic's call came mid-podcast recording, Eli, they're gone. Gate unlatched. Heart seizing, I raced home, podcast forgotten, streets blurring. Ronan was a wreck, hair wild, scent acrid with fear, coordinating pack search from the driveway. My fault. He choked as I arrived, alphas fanning out like spokes. Hours stretched eternal, sun dipping to gold. Then, a howl from the park. Theo, cradling Mira, Luca in Aunt Myra's arms, discovered by a beta picnicker drawn by their cries. Relief crashed, collective exhale. Ronan scooped them, burying face in their curls, sobs muffled. I joined the huddle, our family unit instinctive. In the aftermath, over cooling tea in the kitchen, he broke. I can't lose them. Or you. The fear it mirrors leaving you. Cowardice. We cried together, twins dozing oblivious, the fracture mending in shared vulnerability. Therapy unpacked it. His alpha conditioning, terror of inadequacy masked as control. I choose us daily, he vowed, and I believed, the tether reforming not in bite but will. Fall brought harvest, a pack-wide festival in Magnuson Park, bonfires crackling against chill. Ronan and I arrived hand in hand, twins in slings, our scents unified, cedar jasmine harmony. Elders nodded approval, even Harlan's gaze softening. Around flames, stories flowed, not of conquests, but compassions. Omega's quiet strengths, Alpha's learned yields. Jax's return shattered the idol at solstice eve. Whispers first, then sighting. Gaunt, feral-eyed, slinking from Cascade's fringes. He sought Ronan at the mill, voice ragged. You won, but I need pack. Mercy. Ronan's stance iron, but eyes flickered. Pity? Exile's your choice. Jax's gaze shifted to me, hollow. Tell him the truth, Elias. About the photos. Ice in veins. What truth? A bitter laugh. Fabricated, yes. But he came to me after, seeking solace, not heat. Talked of doubts. I pushed. He left. Still the pull. Ronan growled, but Jax raised hands. I'm done fighting. Just home. The council deliberated dawn to dusk, mercy prevailing, probation under Theo's watch. Ronan abstained, honoring my lead. Your call, he said. Mercy, I decided. But boundaries. Freedom's lesson. Chains break both ways. As snow dusted the sound, twins' first steps wobbled across living room floors, our laughter a chorus. Ronan knelt, arms open, and they tumbled into him, Luca first, Mira trailing. I watched, heart full, the journey's arc clear. Betrayals forge, tempering love to something resilient, humanistic. We renewed vows not on shores, but here, in daily graces. Breakfasts of pancakes sticky sweet, runs through misty parks, nights where his head pillowed on my chest, listening to heartbeats sink. No perfect, alpha stray, omega scar, but choice, compassion's radical act, freeze. In Seattle's embrace, fog and fire, we built not despite fractures, but through them. Identity reclaimed, not in isolation, but union's honest weave. The twins, our wild hearts, toddled onward, and so did we, toward horizons unbound.